everyone, welcome back to my channel, Side Hustle Seattle. So I finally got the last thing that I needed to start doing remote online notary work in the state of Washington, and that is permission from the Department of Licensing. So I imagine Washington's like most states, where in order to actually start doing remote online notary work, you need to, of course, be a commissioned notary public, electronic endorsement, you need to pick a platform or platforms, and then you need to submit that information to the Departments of Licensing or the state, and they will actually give you the yay or nay to use those platforms. So I actually submitted that information back in December 19th of 2020, and I sent them a few platforms I was thinking about using, and then kind of from that time I submitted to when I actually got approved, I submitted a couple more platforms because I just wanted to like get them all approved at the same time, even if I wasn't going to actually use them. But it wasn't until January 7th that I actually got the email saying that I was approved to start doing remote online notary work. But there was a catch, because the email said I can only temporarily do remote online notary work. It says I was only allowed to do it up until March 16th of 2021. And I was confused because technically Washington State passed a law in 2019 to allow for remote online notary work to start in the state. And that was supposed to start in October of 2020. But I guess what happened, or what's happening after I called and tried to figure it out, is they started allowing people to do remote online notary work as soon as COVID hit, and that was under like a temporary emergency authority. So this whole time, people have been still under that temporary authority doing remote online notary work. So it's technically the actual law itself hasn't actually been implemented yet. And so until that happens, your authority to do remote online notary work in Washington will always kind of be temporary. So more likely than not, that date will get pushed back, because it has been getting pushed back since it first got implemented. But as of right now, what I have in my inbox says March 16th of 2021. So I don't believe that's gonna be the last time. I don't believe that's gonna be the hard stop date. But just in case it is, I need to get going. I need to hit the ground running. I need to start, because if I only have 2 months, I need to truly maximize my earnings. I need to maximize, like I wanna get as much experience as possible. So it's important for me to like just get going and starting with the work. But today I wanna talk about how I actually chose my platforms that I was going to use and why I chose the platforms that I did. So let's get into that. Okay, so choosing my platform was easily like the hardest part of the whole process, because it was the part that involved the most amount of research and time and energy and effort, right? You have to see all the platforms that are available, what the costs are, what the fees are, what the payouts are, what the layout is, to figure out if it's right for you. But one thing I did know, even though I didn't know exactly which platform I wanted to do right out the gate, is that I knew I wanted to do multiple platforms no matter what. Because every video that I've read about people who do remote online notary work, or just everything that I've seen, always suggests doing multiple platforms to help maximize your earnings. So that was like number one for me. I knew that I wanted to do multiple. But then still, I couldn't do all of them. So how did I narrow it down? So I had 3 criteria that I really wanted to use in order to help me narrow down which platforms I was going to go with. So one of them was availability. Of course, it has to be available in the state of Washington. And unfortunately, a lot of platforms, especially a lot of the best ones, are not available in the state of Washington. Second one was cost. Ideally, it'd be free. But cost was important, of course, because I'm brand new. And I've already paid so much money, and I want to minimize my out-of-pocket cost early on, because with being new, I don't even know if I like notary work at all, right? I haven't done it yet. And so I didn't want to spend so much and then realize that it's just not for me. And then the third one was platform type. So if you saw my remote online notary video, the one that I did where I went through all the different companies, then you'd know there's like 4 types of companies, right? An employer company, independent, partner only, and then a hybrid. And I'll repost the definitions here so that way you can actually see what those are. But availability, cost, platform type were the 3 things that I used to help me narrow down which companies I wanted to go with. So let's start with availability, because that's the easiest one to start narrowing down your list. Now, in order to start narrowing down your list, you need to know what you're starting with. So I'll post a picture of all of the remote online notary companies that I'm aware of, and then we can start removing anything that is not available in Washington. So when I post the picture, you can see there's quite a few remote online notary companies. But once you remove anything not available in Washington, unfortunately, it gets rid of some of the best remote online notary companies like Notarize, which is easily the biggest one. Somebody I was talking to the other day who worked for a remote online notary company said Notarize has like 80% market share, something like that. So it's a huge one. Unfortunately, it's not available in the state of Washington. So the companies that you see on your screen now are the ones that are actually available for me. So that brings me to my next criteria, and that is cost. Now, cost was one that was really important for me because one, I don't want to pay a lot, but then two, because technically my permission to do remote online notary work is temporary, right? It's only to March 16th. What I didn't want to do is pay a whole bunch up front, and then March 16th comes and I can't do the work anymore. Now, I don't truly believe that come March 16th, I won't be able to do it. If I know Washington well, that'll just keep getting pushed back for however long. But just in case that is the case, I don't want to pay, $800 for a whole year-long membership and only be able to use it for 2 months. And then also, again, because I am brand new to notary work, signing agent work, etc., I don't actually know if I enjoy it yet. So I don't also want to spend a lot of money up front before I know if this is the kind of work for me. So that was important for me. So the way I broke it down was one, I listed all of just the different fees that go into signing up for the platform. Now, when I say signing up for the platform, I mean just the basic platform fees, just the cost of getting the software, not all the different fees and stuff that go into actually once you do a signing. I'm just talking about the bare basics. Now, the way I broke it down was I didn't want to use any platform that was going to cost me more than $200 for the calendar year. Why I chose $200, I don't have anything specific. I don't have a specific reason why I chose like $200, but for me it was like $200 up front is kind of the max that I'm willing to pay right now. So $200 was my baseline, and anything that was above that I immediately removed. So then with that being said, this is what I was left with. Okay, so that brings me to my last criteria, and that is platform type. So again, if you saw my remote online notary video, you would know that I categorize companies into like 4 different categories, right? So 1 being employer, 2 being independent, 3 being hybrid, 4 being partner only. So just real quick definitions. Employer platforms are ones where you're not bringing your own clients onto them. You're helping the clients that company is sourced. So like a Notarize, right? People are going to Notarize to get documents notarized, and there's notaries in the back end who are helping the clients that naturally have come to that site. So that's an employer platform. An independent platform is one where you are just getting the software to use however you see fit. So that's more like a doc verify, right? They're not providing you any clients, they're just allowing you to use the software that you can then use on your own clients. A hybrid is essentially a mix of an employer platform and an independent one. You can bring your own clients to it, or you can help service any clients that are naturally coming to that site. And then the 4th one being partner only, and partner only is like a Pavaso or like a Nexus ClearSign, where you can only use that platform when you're assigned work directly to that platform through one of their partners. So that can be a signing service, a signing database, or a title company. So I went through those quickly. I'll post them just to make sure, but let's get into which sort of categories I preferred over the other. So when it came to picking platforms, there's a couple things I just wanted to be aware of. 1, I'm new, and 2, with remote online notary work, you tend to do a lot of general notary work, but I wanted to make sure I got some loan signings so I can get that experience as well. So with that being said, I wanted a mix of employer platforms and some partner-only platforms, because I figured that would be the easiest way for me to get experience through the employer platform since they bring the work to you, and for me to actually be able to do some loan signings by choosing a partner-only platform, since those are the platforms that I would be advertising on, like signing services and signing databases and to title companies to help do some of those closings. I didn't love the idea of going with an independent platform because they tend to be really, really expensive, but I was able to find one independent platform, technically it's a hybrid platform, but using the independent side of it to do some work through also that I feel like would work with me, or work for me, I should say. With that being said, this is my final list of platforms that I selected and that I asked for permission through the Departments of Licensing. Now, I think it is important to keep in mind that just because I chose the platform does not mean they chose me. especially in the case of employer platforms. So NotaryCam and OnlineNotary.net are two of the only platforms that are employer platforms that are actually available in Washington. So I submitted my applications for those. It's very much like doing a job application, but they still have to approve me to do the work. So I submitted it. I hope they say yes. They could not say yes. I know in a lot of these cases they prefer experienced signing agents and experienced notaries, which makes sense. But in the case that they don't say yes, which would be unfortunate, I have some other ones as well. So Live Notary is a little bit of an interesting one. So it's technically a hybrid platform. There is a free version of it, which allows you to bring your own clients to the platform itself. You just pay a $10 per transaction fee, or you can pay $20 a month, and that'll allow you to use the platform to help your own clients, but also help the clients that they provide and they source. So I was thinking of using it more on the free side as more of an independent platform, and I have some different ways I'm thinking of being able to maximize my use of that platform and to bring some business in. So stay tuned on that one, because I'll make that one a separate video, but I am planning to use that one a little bit more like an independent platform. So the last one I chose was Nexus ClearSign. So I actually chose Nexus ClearSign over Pavaso, mainly because Nexus is free and it's partnered with one of the biggest signing databases, which is SnapDots. So Pavaso is also a great company, but you do pay a $99 setup fee, and then you pay a $100 certificate because you have to get the certificate, digital certificate, directly through them. So I figured, let me just go with the free one, so that way I can actually test it out, get my feet wet, and then in the event that I feel like Pavaso would give me more business, then I can actually go to Pavaso. But because Nexus ClearSign was free, because they had that SnapDocs partnership, it seemed like the best one to go with out the gate. Those are the 4 platforms I decided to go with. I have already applied for NotaryCam. I've already applied for OnlineNotary.net. I'm already fully signed up with Live Notary, and I'm already fully signed up with Nexus ClearSign. So next is just me actually getting down, doing the work, and of course I will keep you posted as I go along that journey. Now in the video, especially on the list of RON platforms, you probably saw some platforms that you didn't hear me talk about in my other video, and that is because I've been made aware of a lot more platforms since I made that first video. So there will be a part 2 for that. Stay tuned. More likely than not, that'll come next week, maybe a little bit sooner. But anyways, thank you all for watching as always, and let me know if you have any questions.